Okay, we're standing today. It feels a little weird, but here we are. So, on this channel, I've talked about meditation, and I have cited it as being one of the best things. It's the first thing I did to start improving myself, and it allowed me to do everything else. But the second thing I did was go to the gym or start losing weight. I didn't go to the gym for probably the first half a year actually. I was well over 100 kg and I was probably like 105 maybe at one point. And I've got as low as 80 kg now and I sit about 85. And for me, even now, I've got a little bit, relaxed on gym and eating and things like that. And I stay at 85 because of the habits I've developed, which has allowed me to stay pretty healthy. A lot of people think that, people that go to the gym are very vain or, they're a bit stuck up. And don't get me wrong, you can get people like that. But honestly, most people in the gym, especially the big people, the people that are like huge, they're honestly some of the kindest people you ever meet. Never be afraid to jump in or go into a gym and do things wrong. Because most of the time, if you're doing something completely wrong, that's probably a bit questionable, someone will come up and they will help you and they'll be glad to help you. Most people in the gym honestly want other people to do good and be healthy as well. Another common misconception is the gym is just for physical, right? Just for losing weight, gaining muscle. But it's not, especially for myself. It's something that relaxes me and also it makes me feel good. I tend to do my workouts in the morning and when I come home, I've got all these other things to do, but everything seems easy because gym is so hard. I come home and everything just seems easy. But not only that, I'm just relaxed. I'm not stressed or worried about everything because I don't have the energy to, because I'm so flat out with gym. Now, if you're my kid watching this, I would suggest that working out, it's a life thing. You need to do it the rest of your life. First of all, there is no rush. There's no rush to get into shape or be chiseled and this and that. Don't worry about that. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life, I can promise you. And the second thing, which I don't really do, and I definitely should, which is pair up, gym with a sport. Because then you can sort of have fun with the thing you're working for. A lot of people, they go to the gym, they try to get healthy, and I don't think they don't see a reason. And obviously there are loads of reasons, right? Quality of life, living for longer, not being out of breath when you jog up the road, things like that. But once you, that's the long goal, that's the long-term goal, that you won't ever see those, come alive. But if you do a sport, you'll see yourself improve, especially if you're training for that sport. It makes it so much easier to do. We're only given one body. Now, my dad would always tell me about how you only get, your set of teeth, right? Once after your adult teeth come through, that's it, right? And he would show me his, he had like silver and gold teeth, and I thought that was a bit weird. I thought, I don't know, as a kid I was like, oh, he must be a pirate or something. And he'd always really, my dad never really enforced anything, but brushing my teeth was a big thing for him. He was making sure, like, 3 times a day, making sure that my teeth stay healthy, right? And I would like to put that to you, but not with your teeth, but your body. You only get one body, yeah? And at points in time in your life, you're going to abuse it by maybe drinking, not sleeping properly, drugs, things you put into your body probably shouldn't do, smoking, and you will abuse it. But understand that you only get this one body and it's for your entire life. You can't switch it out. And so treat it as good as you can. Think about it as, you're in someone else's body for a week. How would you treat their body? How would you, how would you hand it back to them, right? And, if you're if it's someone that you love, especially, you're gonna look after it. You're gonna try to lose some pounds for them maybe, or put some extra muscle on, so when they get it back, it feels nice and good. And so why wouldn't you do that for yourself? Another thing is, a lot of people, they wait. The New Year's will start then, or we'll start next week, or we'll start this day, whatever. Don't ever do that. Here's my rule, and you can adapt it if you want. You only get one pass, right? So that means that if you say, okay, I'm gonna start tomorrow, and you come to tomorrow, and this was that with everything. If you pass on that, that's it. That's the only pass you get. The next day you have to do it. Yeah? And don't go, oh, well, another one or another one. No, one pass. You get one pass, right? And that's it. Life is not forgiving. And the more unhealthy you are, the more you don't move about, the more junk you put in your body, the highly likelihood that you become immobile or become ill or die, right? And I know that maybe you don't care. Maybe that's the case. I know I've been there, where I don't care what I look like, if I can move, or am I going to get ill. But there are people around you, and you may not even know it or understand it, but there are people that love you, and there are people that look up to you, even if it's in the slightest bit. And if something were to have happened to you where you get ill and someone has to look after you, I know you're not going to feel good about that. You won't. You'll feel, fuck, because you put that on yourself. And if you die, there's going to be some people that are upset. People that love you are going to be so upset, and it would have been only by your hands. And I think for me, that makes me upset to think about. Let's say I lived a life like I did a good few years back, and I kept living that life. At one point I was 106 kg, right? I'm only like 5'8", right? I'm not tall. So I was out here, and so if I would have carried on that route, it might have got to a point where I couldn't walk, or I started developing health issues. And if people would have had to look after me, I would have felt so upset, because it would have been by my own doing, by my own hand. I put this on me. So don't get to that. There's a documentary I watched as a kid. I was probably about 12, and I remember it because at the time I was listening to some music, Fast Car. And every time I hear that song, it reminds me of this documentary, because I watched this documentary, and around that time I was listening to this song, and it was basically about an obese guy, and he wants to lose weight. He's bedbound. He can barely move out of his own bed, and he is he's trying to lose weight, and he really wants it. He really wants it. I can tell in his eyes when he was talking and he was doing all the right things. He really wanted it, and I believed it. I looked to him, and when this documentary was going on, I believed that he wanted to make a change. But unfortunately, he just didn't give himself enough time. He passed away a few months into this documentary, and it's sad. It's sad because if he had maybe realised a bit sooner, maybe a year or two, he might have been able to lose the weight, and he might have been fine. But he got to such a bad point, an extreme case, and that's only when he realised, okay, well, I need to change what I'm doing with my life. And it's upsetting. It really is, because I believe that if someone would have caught him earlier, if someone would have caught him a few years earlier, he'd probably still be alive, and it's upsetting that he only wanted it when it was really extreme. And so I say to you that catch it before it is extreme, and that goes for everything. If you're doing bad habits, because there are a lot of bad habits, not just being unhealthy to your body but also to your mind, catch it and then stop it before it's too late. I remember a big regret of mine, and I never did it again. But I remember I was a kid, I was probably about 11 or so. And for me, drugs, smoking, drinking are common things around me growing up. I know what they are, and I've seen them been taken, and it was a common thing. It didn't really, it wasn't really. It was just there, right? And I remember I was in the forest after school. We had a forest in front of our school, and me and a bunch of my mates were in there. And we've lit a fire and we chill around it. And one of the kids that I was with, he was smoking, and he handed me the cigarette, right? And it wasn't that he was forcing me; he was offering. He was genuinely just being nice. And I took it and I hit it, and I handed it back and whatever. And I think that day it really sparked something in my head, right? That even though he thought he was being nice, it could have been really bad, right? I could have, hit that and been like, oh, okay, I like that. It feels nice. And I could have then become hooked. And I know people think that's a bit extreme, but to me it's not. Cigarettes, whether it's weed, drugs, alcohol, anything that damages your body is extreme. And you do it from such a young age, you get hooked. It's very hard to come off. And I remember so funny. Like as soon as I hit it, I was like, "Oh, that's disgusting." And I guess I'm just lucky. Because let's say I liked it. Let's say I was like, oh yeah, that feels good. It's great. It's a nice habit to have. It could have done me a lot of damage. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that story, but I never did it. I never did it again. I'd surely never, even if people were trying to be nice to me and whatnot. I'd deny it. Drink, alcohol, drugs. All those blatant, obvious things that were bad. For me, I thought it was silly that someone of our age would smoke. For me, I'd look at my mum or my aunties and uncles, and I would say, well, they kind of didn't know how bad it was, but our generation does. We know how bad it is before we buy it, before we smoke it. We know how bad it is. At least most, right? And so for me, it was kind of silly that you'd even try it out because it would just damage you. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. What should I leave you here with today? Prioritize your mind first and then your body, right? Because your mind is what allows you to get up in the morning or whenever it is and go to the gym. Your mind needs to be strong before your body. And then also understand that when you work your body out, it helps your mind. All it does is strengthen it even more. Again, it's not just for the physical, it's also for the mental. These two things here, hand in hand, get you to anywhere you want to be. I promise you. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.